welcome to the Everything Voiceover Podcast. My name is Justin D. Torres. The Everything Voiceover Podcast is brought to you by the Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. It's great to be back on the Everything Voiceover Podcast. We took a couple of weeks off. I was in a vacation out in the west near Arizona. Actually went to the Grand Canyon and realized it was actually closed. But we went around the Grand Canyon and we saw a really cool other canyon at night, which was very cool as well. So, mind you, if you are off on your way to the Grand Canyon, make sure it is open. But there's also other places like Bryce Canyon and Zion to go as well, if you're ever in the Arizona, Utah, Nevada area. Anyway, I was really trying to think hard about what this podcast would be about, and sure enough, I was on the Facebook pages, which get me a little riled up, I'll be honest with you. And I was really tired about the same old pay-to-play site arguments that are happening over and over and over again, and it just aggravated me so much because, you know, that's the one truth that people always tell you. It's like, don't do pay-to-play sites. It's bad. They're taking more money than they should. They're screwing voiceovers out of money, and that's true. That's true in certain aspects. You know, they're taking a bigger chunk than the average agent does, and some. And if you bid low, who knows? You know, you may be giving $250 off to, voices.com. I don't know the exact amount that they take. Nobody knows. I mean, these are just the business practices that they do. And I understand those are bad business practice. But, there's no one, there's just a choir of people shouting from the hills about this one thing. When in actuality, VoiceOver has a billion things you got to watch out for, and pay-to-play sites is probably the only one that actually, you can actually make money off of. All the other ones, the untold truths that I'm going to tell you, are stuff where you basically don't get any money back 90% of the time. And getting screwed is kind of not new to VoiceOver people. I hate to break it to you guys, but as with most acting situations, the creatives are not very valued in this society. So, if you're on the lower end of the totem pole and you're not as skilled, or if you not know the right people or you're not networked in, you got to either spend your money to get in or break in through your own means, or, this is nothing new. Being screwed as a voiceover actor is really nothing new. And to be up in arms about one thing is fine, but to totally deny the other bunch is crazy to me. So here are the 10 untold truths about voiceover that you probably should know before you get started, or if you are getting started, you probably have learned that these are things that happen in voiceover all the time. Number 1, voiceover coaches have no problem with you not being successful. There is zero vested interest in a voiceover coach for you to be successful. I mean, sometimes, if you've got a crazy voice and you go to a voiceover coach and they're like, if you got like a Nigerian accent, the voiceover coach might be like, you know what, I might introduce you to an agent. Yeah, and then they'll be like, yeah, great. Yeah, but if you are not this diamond in the rough and you're just learning voiceover, there's no vested interest in a voiceover coach to get you successful. As a matter of fact, the only vested interest of most voiceover coaches have is to get you to do more voiceover coaching sessions. And that sucks because, as a voiceover actor, I've only coached once and I didn't know what to do about it. This might sidetrack me a little bit. I only coached, it was about before I left 3 weeks ago. This lady came and asked me, and she said, I have a bunch of questions about voiceover. And I was like, well, you could always look on the podcast, but if you really want me to tell you in person, then I can do it for a set amount. And instead of me making like a template or a curriculum, so that would be like, oh, this week we'll learn this, I said, listen, just give me a list of questions. I'll answer them to the best of my ability, and hopefully we can get you started. And if you need me to help you out in any other way, shape, or form, I can do it. Not some kind of person who's like vested interest is like, yeah, we're going to just work on this today so that you can pay me next week for the next day. So, if you look at a voiceover actor who's turned coach, then you kind of wonder, are you not making enough money in voiceover that you have to suddenly start coaching people that your livelihood is now based on the backs of other voiceover actors? I don't know. It just, I mean, who's worse? You know, if I make 50% of my money off of voiceover acting, and then I make the other 50% of my money based off of voiceover actors, then who's worse? You know, if you think about pay-to-play sites, you know, they make a X amount, but in the end, at least I get some money out of it, right? So voiceover coaches aren't necessarily the nicest or the most, they don't have a responsibility to your success, is what I'm trying to say. Number 2, useless $1,000 demos are rampant in the voiceover community. Even my demo, which is great, and I love it, and it's amazing, I'm not 100% sure if it's got me that much use, to be perfectly honest. I have things on it that are really cool, but, you know, it's not my golden ticket into every single agency. It's like, I mean, my voice does not really stand out in any specific way. The only way you're going to get a golden ticket into any of these agencies is if you know somebody, or if you have a very specific voice, or if you're just really, really, really good, you know? And that takes time, and that takes a lot of time to get through. Or if you're famous, that's the other way. But there are $1,000 demos that are just tossed away over and over again. These are pitfalls that are done by either voiceover actors who charged another voiceover actor $1,000 to record their demo, which is horrible, or an engineer who's also a voiceover actor who's charged $1,000 to their demo, or some school that's like at the end of the three-year term, or end of the let's go with 10-month term, you get a demo, and by then they've suckled out $2,000 of your money, and these are rampant. These are rampant in the community. And everyone's like, oh, you got to get it professionally done. You got to get it professionally done. Well, you also got to be good at voiceover before you get a demo done. And when someone says, should I get a demo done? And a person's like, no, you have to train first, or no, you have to get it done professionally. If they haven't listened to your stuff, or they don't know you, then their advice is going to be useless to you without them seeing what you're doing exactly right now. And don't be afraid of the bad criticism, because that's going to happen. Believe me, if you put out a demo to some of these Facebook groups, and they'll rip it to shreds, it's not the most supportive environment I've found. Number 3, there are lots of voiceover union artists that are unable to make the minimum requirements for healthcare, implying that there are too few union jobs out there, and that the competition is fierce. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. There's no shortage of actors out there. There's a plethora of actors out there, and there's more actors than there needs to be, and there's less jobs out there. And when it comes to union, it's even less, and it's sad. It's sad. There's just not enough out there for them. And you know, most voiceover actors that I know supplement with film, and they supplement with TV to try and make that make those ends meet. Or they're just a really good voiceover actor who got like 3 really good clients that constantly have them back over and over and over again, and they hit the jackpot as far as that goes, and they just constantly go back and forth with it, which is great. That's a very good possibility. But there are not enough union jobs for all the voiceover actors out there. And there never will be. Number 4, SAG-AFTRA, which is the union, will do nothing to serve the actors that are paying union fees and unable to get jobs. There's no incentive for them to create new jobs. If anything, there's more incentive for them to create new open slots for more SAG-AFTRA actors. This is sad. And there was a time years ago where SAG-AFTRA was the union had merged, and SAG-AFTRA was open to all actors, regardless. And a lot of my friends ended up going into the union without being good enough to be in the union. And then suddenly there were no jobs. Then suddenly people who were good at couldn't do non-union jobs anymore. And then there's like FICOR, which is like, you can do non-union jobs, you just need to tell us. We can't vote no more. Which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I'm going to do a whole podcast based on the union that I've heard, not because I'm not a part of the union. but a whole podcast based on the fact that, there's some shady stuff happening with the union that no one talks about. All right. And, and number 5, when you go to these conferences, they often try to upsell you on classes that are extra payment. So there's like the classes that come with the conference, and then there's these special 10-person classes that are an extra $200 or $300 because those aren't included in the $1,000 or $2,000 payment that you put in to go to this conference. And and when I was reading a Facebook thing, they said it's almost even the pros were like, yeah, that's kind of what happens at conferences. It's kind of based on the fact that all the newbies are going to come in and spend all their money on these classes that might be useful, and it's kind of like its own selling point. And I'm like, oh, at least you're admitting that you're setting pitfalls for people to try and get more money out of them. And it sucks, and I hate it. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. And, so these are the first 5 of the Untold Truths. You got voiceover coaches that don't have any vested interest in your success. If they are, then that's great. I would love to know a coach that's like, if you're awesome, I will submit you to my 4 agencies that I know and get them working. I have found that it happens with casting directors, yes, but not so much voiceover coaches. Number 2, there are so many crap demos out there that are not, and there are crap demos of people that were made for nothing, and there are crap demos that are made for thousands of dollars. And for some reason, the voiceover community has been like, don't do the free demos, get it professionally done. By all means, join the $1,000 demos that have been thrown in the trash over and over again. Let's all make money off of these people who don't know any better. That's not to say that there are good demo makers. Of course, there are good demos makers out there, but even the best demo makers don't have like a golden ticket. They're not going to give you a golden ticket into every agency. And if they do, and if they claim that they do, it seems like it's too good to be true, then it's probably not. And number 3, a lot of voiceover artists can't even make the minimum for healthcare. And that's rampant in every acting situation, whether it comes to film acting and theater acting. This is, not a lot of people make money. And, number 4, SAG-AFTRA will do nothing to serve their actors. They're not going to be like calling you up and saying, hey, there's a couple of jobs that you can go out for because we want you to make enough money to pay your health care, to join the health care. It's like they're not going to do that. It's different with every other union. It's crazy. And I'm going to try and do a podcast about that because it's like there are unions out there that are good unions. And conferences try and upsell you on classes, which sucks because conferences are expensive. You're already paying X amount out of your pocket just to do it. And then imagine you're going to a conference and then you're going to go to all the ones that are just tight, and then you think to yourself, oh, there's like 4 advanced classes that I'm missing, and I need to pay an extra $1,000 to get in all of those. And then not only that, I'm going to miss the classes that I thought was interesting at the conference. It's like, what is going on with this whole community? But not community, just this particular setup. Because, if people are up in arms about pay-to-play sites, they need to be up in arms about this stuff too. Now would be a great time to say that the Everything Voiceover podcast is brought to you by The Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. And now we're on to the last 5 of the 10 untold truths about VO, and I apologize that these are negative, but I feel like people need to know that it's not just there are many wolves in the room, there are many elephants in the room that people need to talk about, and if we're always just pointing at the one big elephant that's making the most money, we don't realize that there's a million little elephants out there that are just willing to take as much money from you, and perhaps even more than that big elephant does. At least that big elephant tosses out some money your way and some jobs your way. So number 6, most, if not all, one-off classes that you take will be a sell job. See what I'm saying? They're going to talk to you about something, and then at the end, they're going to be like, hey, but if you want to do this, Maybe if you'd like to work on a demo, if you like to talk to me outside of class, we can talk about coaching and stuff like that. It's almost a sell job because there's no point in teaching voiceover unless you want to make money, and the only way to make money is to get more students. If students are just going to take one-off classes, then you're not going to make any money. So, in the same way of marketing and making money in general, they want you to pay more. So don't be surprised when it happens. But there are good classes out there that are one-offs, but you can glean really important information. You just try not to get screwed at the end. That's the one thing. If they're really cool and they're really good people, like I've worked with people like Pat Fraley, who's a genius, and it's working with like a legend, and it's a one-off, but you're also able to glean 4 or 5 great pieces of information that will affect you, then yes, those are good classes. And you realize that these are classes that are not necessary. You're not going to come out with an agent. You're not going to come out with, Pat isn't going to come up to me after class and be like, hey, there's a job that I really think you'd be great for. I mean, it does happen, but it's not like he's got, it'd be very interesting to take a class and you've got 5 jobs sitting on your table being like, I'm going to give these away to the 5 people that want to do this. I would, if I was, that would be the greatest marketing thing ever. It's like, yeah, Justin had 5 jobs and he actually hired 5 people directly out of that thing, Anyway. Number 7, any VO who assumes they can advise a person without hearing their demo, listening to them talk, and listening to them audition, or seeing their resume is talking out of their ass. All the information that I have at the Everything Voiceover podcast is just stuff that I know. And that's stuff that, I always try and preface. It's like, you forge your own path. This is my path. This is the stuff that I believe. This will not necessarily be the same way that you are. I always try and say there's always diamonds in the rough that shoot to the moon and get to union and just work forever. Those happen all the time. But I'm not those. So this is going to be from the perspective of someone who's working pretty hard on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, to try and break down the door and make enough bread to go and pay rent and pay off my bills and go vacationing every now and then. So it's really something to behold when people think that they can, advise someone. So if you're going to post on Facebook, hey, I was thinking about joining A, B, and C, you're just opening yourself up to being, to people who are going to have their own opinions based on nothing. What I do recommend, if you're going to post on a Facebook group, you post your demo, you post what you've done, you post your resume, and then you ask the question, Or just ask a very specific enough question and specify that you don't want certain people's opinion. If you want to only look at people who are doing Reaper, and you want to look at only non-union people, then you specify no union actors. Please do not respond to this. I do not want your opinion because you are not the same person as I am. You're not in the same spot. All right, number 8, marketing yourself is not a viable option for new voiceover actors. If you haven't gotten a job, don't market yourself. It's the worst thing you could possibly do. I mean, you could, if you get a job, then, your version of marketing could be like, hey, this is the job that I did. That's great. That's totally fine. But don't go cold calling if you don't know how to edit, and if you don't know how, and if you made your own demo and you're new, when people are like, oh, people are like, I've been a part of pay-to-play sites for a year. I've got like 5 jobs. What are the options? And one person's like, yeah, just go ahead and market yourself. It's like, no, don't market yourself. You know how much money you could lose on like websites and trying to learn how to market on the internet? I assume we're all like creatives in some way, shape, or form, and we want to learn a business thing? God. Oh. It's so much easier for people who are already have repeat clients that they can fall back on, and then they can just work on marketing on another way, and that's, that's easy for them because they're already successful and they can parlay the stuff that they already have and market to the right people, and they can do that well. So that's great. But, don't tell these new people that they need to market themselves. Come on now. If you don't know, that's the whole thing about number 7. Don't give your advice if you don't know who these people are. I almost want to say, and 90% of the posts that are on Facebook be like, I have no idea who you are. I can only make an assumption that you are A, B, and C. And based on that assumption, I can give you this advice. Number 9, audiobooks that are less than $200 per finished hour is slave labor. And if you want even worse slave labor, go for the old royalty. Jeez, I have met a friend of mine that said she was working off of a royalty, and she was doing an entire book. And I was like, you must be making nothing. And it's like, and she's like, it's probably come out to like $1 an hour. It's like, oh my, I'm sorry, I just bumped the thing. I was like, this is crazy. It's like, here it is, ACX, and then here we are talking about pay-to-play sites, and this woman is doing ACX for 5 cents an hour. That's a pretty big bet. I'm betting that I will make money. Oh, God. That just saddens me so much. And no one's raising their hands being like, ACX is trying to screw people. And it's like, no, it's not ACX trying to screw people. Though they could say that you have to do $200 per finished hour if you want to be a part of ACX, which would, make it all better, wouldn't it? But since they don't do that, we've got all these royalty things. It's like, wow, that's, no one's shouting out the rooftops for that. No one's shouting at Voice123 for having no budget jobs. No one's shouting out, and even no one's got every Facebook voiceover group has the occasional guy from Dubai or something that pops up and is like, hey, I need this type of person. Message me, and then you see all the messages, and one guy's like, this guy's gonna pay $20 per half hour of work, half hour of like e-learning stuff. It's like, yeah. I hate to break it to you guys, but clients are the ones that are screwing people over as well. Clients, people who come up and like, I can only afford $100. It's an hour-long e-learning, but I can only afford $100. It's like, yeah, those guys are the ones that are screwing over the voiceover community. All right? And and the last one, and now here's a big one. Expect 3 to 4 years of working on this before you can call it even a part-time job. Unfortunately, when I talked to this wonderful lady who I coached for just one day, just try to answer as many questions as I could for her as quickly as possible, she's like, if I worked at it within 2 months, you think I could make some money? And it's like, and I was like, I don't know. I can't tell you. I can't guarantee that, I don't know what your work ethic is like. I don't know how many auditions you can get done. You need to learn how to edit. I can't guarantee that, but then again, she was also a marketing person. So you've got people. So you might be able to do it that way. There's no way I can advise and tell them. It's like, I can't say that I couldn't guarantee myself a job within 2 to 3 years when I first started. I got jobs. Absolutely. I was pulling maybe 1 in every 50 auditions, and I was doing pay-to-play sites. And, it wasn't until I actually started working at it and I was good at it that I started making enough money to call it a part-time job, and now I'm making enough to call it a full-time job. And now this is only from a non-union studio-based perspective. If you're a diamond in the rough and you come out and you get an agent out here and you pull a couple of jobs, that's full-time. Once you go into a union perspective, then suddenly, 1 or 2 jobs may hook you up for like 2 or 3 months rent, okay? Unless they're audiobooks, in which case I've done a bunch of those in studio, and they are not screw jobs. They're nice. They pay well, $250 an hour or so, sitting in a booth. Not bad for scale, but it's, I am like, these are supposed to be the good jobs, right? Anyway, so let's go over the list from 6 to 10. One-off classes are going to be a sell job. Number 7, VOs who give advice, who don't know who you are and hasn't seen who you are just talking out of their behinds. Number 8, marketing yourself is not a viable option for people who are not already successful. Period. You know, if the pay-to-play sites are supposed to be the things like, I don't have to market myself anymore. I'm going after jobs. Audiobooks for less than $200 per finished hour when it comes to you creating, you editing and doing it yourself is basically slave labor. Once you go under 100, oh my God. It is rough. It is rough. And number 10, expect 3 to 4 years of working on this situation before you can even call it a part-time job. Now, there are many pitfalls, many elephants in the room that are happening to voiceover talent right now, and we can't just focus on the one and just point at the one while all the other times we're getting pickpocketed by all these million other things. I feel like it's kind of what it is, all right? What it is. I can't say, you can't do pay-to-play sites, and then me do it. And then there's people who are like Union, who are like, you can't do pay-to-play sites, and then they do it, and they've got FICOR friends, and they're not talking about their FICOR, they're not bringing their friends who do FICOR jobs out into the open to try and screw them over. There's great many pitfalls out there. VO actors want your money to make demos or to pay them for coaching because some reason they're just so successful that they want to offer their services. The Everything Voiceover podcast is free to everyone. The everythingvoiceover.com is free to everyone. I don't offer a second thing. To be honest, it's just what it is. I mean, you glean what you can from what I give you, and hopefully this helps people out there. Also, you have pay-to-play sites that want a piece of the job, and they want to pay you, and they want you to pay a subscription fee, and they want to get paid more than an agent, and all this just to get an audition to you that you can do for a certain price. And that's bad, but then again, imagine how much would I pay to be in the Abrams thing? How much would I pay to be in CSD? Well, I'd pay $300 a year. Yeah, I would. I'd want a piece of those, try and get at least an audition for them Super Bowl commercials. Absolutely. And also, you've got the clients who don't want to pay. There are so many clients out there who do not want to pay you a wage because either they don't know how much it's worth or they just don't want to pay. Why should they pay more than $250 for a national voiceover commercial? I'm already paying $1,000, $2,000 for all the other stuff. Why should I have to pay over $250 for the person who just has to sit in their little studio for 30 minutes? And you have to explain that to those people. Clients try and screw you over a lot. It happens all the time. Then there's some great clients, and then you've got people that are clients that are in that mid-range where you're like, you're kind of don't really value me, but you at the same time you're a great repeat client, and I get a job from you every week, so I'm gonna keep you around until I hit $1 million. And here's a big thing, you're already being screwed over by voiceover actors, you're screwed over by pay-to-play sites, you're being screwed over by clients who don't want to pay you any money, and the last thing is like you're screwed over by a union with no union jobs. A union that has created FICOR, which is almost an admission to the fact that they cannot care for their own voiceover talent. Ugh. But alas, everyone listening, there are many good sides to all this. The key is that you have to realize that this isn't that hard of a work, This is you sitting in a studio all alone talking and having fun and bringing characters to life, and it's pretty cool. And I even did a voiceover audiobook for $85 per finished hour when I first started. And I was fine with that, and I'm fine with it now. Because I got to do all these cool things that were like Lord of the Rings stuff. I don't regret a single cheap job that I did. I don't regret a single pay-to-play site that I was a subscriber to. I don't regret a single voiceover class where I got the person to coach me for a second afterwards and realized that it wasn't a good idea. I don't regret, doing a video game class with a person who casted for Blizzard and didn't get anything out of it. It's all okay. So I don't regret anything. And I don't need and I feel like when I see stuff on Facebook, I feel like people are trying to be like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. All these 10 things that I said are untold truths about voiceover. You know, I'm not saying take it with a grain of salt, but I'm saying that this is all kind of old news. You know, you take chances. It's kind of a gamble. You're trying to do something. You're trying to make a mountain out of like a molehill of creativity. And it's going to take a while. It's going to take patience. It's going to take time. It's going to take money. And I wish you the best of luck. And I'll tell you one thing. The persistent people make it. The people who have an optimistic view, people who take the hits and they have a good time and they smile and they laugh through it, the people who spend a little money on classes every now and then, get to know people, those are the people that make it. And those are the people that you want to be around. And those are the people that agents want to be around. And those are the people that the casting directors want to be around as well. So as long as you're positive and you're okay with whatever you do for whatever price, I guarantee you if you're starting low, you'll eventually value it more. If you did a couple $100 jobs, you're going to do a couple $200 jobs, then you'll have a taste of $1,000 jobs, and then you'll bring it up to $200. You're going to forge your own path, how you forge your own path. Don't let anybody tell you what's right and what's wrong. And don't let anybody wave their hand and say, don't you go to a pay-to-play site. Just like I can't wave my hand and say, don't join the union because they blah, blah, this. It's like, no. If your path takes you into the union, go in there and kick ass. If your path takes you into making a crap demo that's $1,000, the process will be worthwhile for you to learn something. You'll be able to glean something out of it. So, and to be perfectly honest, I think pay-to-plays have a special part in my heart because I'm able to live. I'm able to live off of a voiceover career because of pay-to-play sites. Because, those are the big jobs haven't really came my way yet. And that's okay. And you guys should be okay with it too. All right, this has been the Everything Voiceover Podcast. My name is Justin D. Torres. The Everything Voiceover Podcast is brought to you by The Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. Thank you guys so much for listening. Take care.